How you doing? So these are the top three champions in MCOC that can solo the most fights in solo mode. Number three is Aegon. So number three is a debatable spot that can certainly go to Hercules, perhaps Kitty Pryde or Diablo. But when it comes to number one and number two spot, there's no debatable. These two champions can solo the most fight in MCOC. And that is number two, Hela, and number one is Angela. So why is that? If you're wondering, and most people don't know why the reason, is because of incursions. Incursions, we practically have no idea how many zones there are. Practically there is no limit. But let's assume there's only 500 zones in each level. That makes up about 9,000 fights total in incursion. That is more fights than all of the other quests combined. Okay? So, for the people saying that Hercules is broken, they don't know what they're talking about. And it is a fact that less than 50% of all fights in the MCOC, Hercules can solo. Less than 50%. And that is including incursions. I might even go as far as less than 40%. Let me just give you an explanation as why. The reason why is because of incursion. Let's just say level 1, okay? Level 1. Once you get past zone 100 in level 1, it gets really tough. Let's say even zone past 120, it gets really tough. It actually has higher health pools when you get to zone past 120. Higher health pool than a level 6 zone 25. Higher health pools and higher attack. And Hercules, especially the way the new buff hacks is now that they limited it to 100. Before, it was only limited to 4, but you can bring it to as far as limit as many zones as you can. Now, with the new buff hacks, you can only bring it to zone 100. And then after that, you're not going to get any more buffs after that. And that's going to make Hercules not that great when it comes to past zone 100. Even before that, you can bring all the buffs into unlimited zones. Hercules will still struggle when it comes to higher zones. It's because of the higher health pools. Because when it comes to this immortality phase, it can only last so long, right? And that's why Hercules struggles in like Abyss fights as well as even Labyrinth of Legends. He's not the best option. I've seen the Great Legacy died with a 6-star rank 5 fully boosted SIG 200 Hercules in Labyrinth of Legends because of the health pool. It's just too high for Hercules, especially if you make a mistake with Hercules at those large health pools. He's just not going to make it. He's just not going to make it because his mortality phase would not last. So when it comes to incursion, I say, if doing the math, Hercules can probably solo about 30% of all the fights in incursion. I'm assuming there's only zone 25. I mean zone 500. Okay? If there's only zone 500 in incursion, level 1 through in each level 1 to level 6, he can solo about 30% of the fights. And that is being generous, okay? And that is a fact. And the reason why Aegon could possibly beat Hercules is because once Aegon could ramp up, by zone 25 in level 6, of course, but in lower levels it will take more than that, more zones. But when you have it max SIG, it's gotta be less than zone 25 for sure. As long as you have him awakened, you need him to be awakened. And like I said many times before, once you have Aegon fully ramped up, I think he's the best champion in MCOC without a doubt. That's without synergy, okay? And if you're not sure why, just read his abilities. If that doesn't make sense to you either, there's a few gameplays out there to prove why he's the best champion in MCOC. Once he's fully ramped up, he's the best champion without synergy. And when it comes to number 2 and number 1, they're without a doubt the highest potential in the game. That is number 2, Hela. Hella, man, I've taken Hella up to, what is that, zone 167. She's just amazing. I'm sure she can go further. Who knows exactly how far she can go, but I'm sure when it comes to zone 1, a 6-star rank 5 Hella can get up to zone 500, and she can solo, I would say, 95% at least of the fights up to zone 500 in level 1. Of course, when it comes to level 2 and above, she might struggle. She might struggle because of the health pool is large. It's too large for her, and her indestructibility phase will not last long enough. That's the only thing I could say when it comes to Hella. If her indestructibility phase can last while the opponent has health, I think she's gonna do really well. And if you see my gameplay, you've seen me taking down 5.7 million health in less than a minute with Hella. Of course, it's gonna be much higher health than that once you go past level 1, or when you get past zone 200 or something. So when it comes to number 1, I say Angela is number 1 is because she can regen. Not only that her Furies doesn't really have a limit. It does have a limit of 3, but when it comes to the buff potency with the Odin synergy, there's practically no limit as far as we know. So she can do so much damage, okay, with her Furies. As I mentioned, she can also heal, so she can take block hit. She take a block hit, she'll heal it back. With the Odin synergy, if you have a 6-star Odin synergy, she only takes 15% damage from block hit. So that's gonna, but when she get that higher buff potency, she basically, that 15%, she'll heal it back within seconds, possibly even a second. If you have buff corn, obviously when you get to the higher zone, you won't have buff corn anymore. But that's why Angela's number 1 when it comes to incursions, and that's why she can solo the most fights, because she can solo the most fights in incursion. So basically, that's the reason why. Whoever can solo the most fight in incursion can solo the most fights in MCOC, and that is Angela. Hella is questionable because, like I mentioned, like you go to level 6, getting to zone 25 is not easy, and the health pool just gets larger and larger. A 6-star rank 5 would have a hard time because it's just like you just don't have enough ramp up for her indestructibility to last for that health pool. When it comes to Angela, she just can do it because she can regen, and her damage when it comes to buff potency is pretty good. And I didn't mention this, when it comes to Hella, she increased buff duration with Odin synergy, and like I mentioned already, like it might not last long enough, especially in level 6, because you don't have enough time to ramp her up. When it comes to Angela, you've seen enough gameplay of Angela to prove that's not the case, even in level 6. Thank you.